Hi everyone, Adam here. Today I'm going to count down my least favourite movies from 2019. Of course, this is subjective, it's just my opinion. If you like these movies, that's fine, but here we go. Yes, I actually took down notes for once. At number 10, I know some people like this movie, Happy Death Day to You. It was well made, but it just kind of a weird thing to kind of change genres into the sequel. And it also explained the whole in a time loop from the first movie, which I didn't think was necessary. I preferred the mystery of the original. But apart from that, the acting was fine, as well shot, which is why this is at number 10, because it does have a few good moments, but to me, I prefer the original. I'm putting Stuber. It was a movie about a police detective who gets a lead for a case, but on the day he gets the leads, he's had LASIK surgery, so he can't drive or anything. So he hires a Uber by a man named Stuber, who has to drive him around to find out the clues. Yeah, it's a pretty silly premise, and it is a comedy, but it just wasn't funny. And we've seen Dave Bautista can be funny. He was pretty funny in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Yeah, not so much. And the action scenes weren't that great either. I give it a nice try, but yeah. But nope. Next up, number 8 is a movie that got critical acclaim, but not from me. But I'm not a critic. I'm somebody talking about movies. Ad Astra, about an astronaut who's trying to find out what happened to his missing dad. I found it pretentious, slow moving, not for me. The acting was fine, special effects were fine, but it's just so damn slow and pretentious. At number 7, Men in Black International, the spin-off from the original movies with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson taking over the roles, and we've seen they've had chemistry before. They were both very good in Thor Ragnarok. And here, wasn't them? They were good in it, but it was a script that let them down. I keep forgetting there were bad guys in this movie. They seem to be sidelined for most of it. As usual, good special effects. The plot is what lets this one down so much. Ang Lee sci-fi action film about Will Smith's character who's a hitman who ends up having to fight the clone of his younger self, which is a very intriguing premise if it was well executed. Yeah, and I'm quite surprised. Ang Lee is a good director, but the action scenes were just bland. The acting was fine by Will Smith and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I mean, the acting was fine pretty much by everyone in there. It's another one where the script just was not good. Next at what are we up to? At number 5, The Curse of the Weeping Woman. That's what it was titled here, called The Curse of La Llorona everywhere else. It's in the Conjuring universe. It's just... It was way too many jump scares. But I kind of like the myth behind the Weeping Woman. That was interesting. And the way it was connected to the Conjuring universe seemed kind of tacked on. At least with the Annabelle movies, they make sense to be in that universe. I own it in my collection, yeah, because I gotta have everything in the franchise. But yeah, it was just too many jump scares. But I will say, interesting premise. Next up, 47 Meters Down Uncaged, the sequel to the original, even though it's not really connected to it, apart from in-name title, where the original was a very well-made, very tight shark thriller. This one seems to forget what made the original work, and spoiler alert, this one features blind sharks. To use what? Well, I'm no scientist, obviously, but it's because they go cave diving, the sharks hang around the cave and they've lost their sight. It's really, really, I don't know if that's scientifically accurate. To me, it sounds stupid, but I might be wrong. Blind sharks. What it was essentially was a direct-to-video movie that got released at cinemas. That's what it reminded me of. There's some okay scenes, but stupid blind sharks. Number 3, Charlie's Angels. I was willing to give it a chance. I thought it could be fun. I thought wrong. It's a serious take on Charlie's Angels, which is probably the wrong approach. Even the movie from the 2000s, there was a tongue-in-cheek to it. They knew what they were making. This is more a gritty, realistic version of Charlie's Angels, and it doesn't work. And of course, even the action scenes were dull. I know some people think, oh, you didn't like it because you're a man. No, it's got nothing to do with that. I just didn't think it was a very good movie. I was willing to see it, but it just wasn't a good movie. I'm sorry, the action scenes were boring, the plot was unmemorable. I can't even remember what the plot was. Yeah, so number 3, Charlie's Angels. Number 2, X-Men Dark Phoenix. It's the last of the First Class movies, and I could be wrong, I think it's the last under the 20th Century Fox banner. There's just so much wrong with it. Once again, they tried to do the Phoenix Saga, which didn't work in The Last Stand, so they tried here again. Interesting to note that Simon Kinberg wrote both those movies. So it didn't work once, so we tried again, didn't work again. Well, Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy were very good. Most of the cast were good in this. It's like, why do the same story again if it didn't really work the last time? I know they're trying to revamp the story or remake it. What's the point? And also, the way the timeline jumps, and no one gets that much older. And people might say it's a mutant gene, but no, because they went from, what was it, 60s? Was it 60s, 70s from the First Class? The 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s in 4 movies, and people have only aged a few years, because we're in the 90s by this one, and yeah, and of course maybe a different timeline, but yeah, I don't know why they bothered. They really didn't need to keep jumping decades. That never made any sense to me. Okay. And number 1, probably no shocker here, Black Friggin' Christmas. I admitted I hadn't seen the other 2 Black Christmas movies, and I want to check them out because they could not be as bad as this dumpster fire. It's a movie that, and steal from Jen's reviews from the grave, she said it had an agenda. It's a movie that hates men. And here's the thing, I understand what they're trying to say, but they were doing it in such a heavy-handed way. They're basically saying all men are evil. It's not entertaining in the slightest. Goal factor 0. The whole reasoning behind the murders is stupid. And it is obvious, and this is one of the worst wide-release horror films I've seen in ages. I didn't mind the acting from the lead character. What's her name again? Imogen Poots. I mean, she did a good job in the lead role, but about the only likeable character in that movie. I agree with Jen. It's a very dangerous message to send to young girls. How, oh, don't trust any men at all. We're not all evil. That's the massive problem I had with it. And yeah, I really hated it. It's a movie that gave the unprecedented score of Bah Humbug out of 10. It's just terrible. And they should have worried about making a movie instead of an agenda. Alright, so yes, number 1, I hate that movie so much. As always, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. All the best for the new year. And I'll see you again soon.